Welcome to Building Better Businesses. I'm Kristen Dees, founder of Catalyst Consulting, an agency that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs start, grow, and level up their businesses. This podcast will bring you interviews with experts in all things business related. Have questions for a business attorney? We've got answers. How about your health insurance? Got you covered there too. New episodes coming your way every week. Find us on the podcasting platform of your choice. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Building Better Businesses with Catalyst Consulting. My guest today is Jen Shultz, the founder and leader of the Non-9-to-5. And she found me through the Polka Dot group, which is actually a lot of my most recent guests have come from Polka Dot because I posted something and I was like, hey, who wants to be on a podcast? So here you are. I'm pretty excited to have you. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me here. I'm super excited.
You betcha. So tell us a little bit about you as a human. Who's Jen?
Me as a human. So let's see. I live in Austin, Texas. I have a sweet dog named Honey, not the honey that you eat, Hunny. I didn't actually give her that name. She came with that name, but I really like it for her. And her and I really enjoy going for walks together, and she runs with me sometimes when I do that. What else? I would say I'm decently health conscious, meaning, if you saw the part of the counter in my kitchen, you would see probably between 15 and 20 bottles of supplements. And I also go for once a month IV, I don't even call them treatments or infusions, full of all sorts of vitamins and stuff. So I'm always trying to find the best way to keep my health optimal. And I love reading, and I love music, and I love comedy. I've done stand-up before. So those are a couple of things about me.
Nice. Yeah. I was going to ask what a fun fact is, but I think comedy might be it. So
yeah,
how'd that go?
I did. I took a stand-up comedy class about 2.5 years ago, and then after the class, basically the class was like a culmination to be able to perform, and everyone in the class did a 5-minute set. What was really cool about it was that we had a packed house. We had people standing on the sides, all the seats were taken. So when I did that 5-minute set, I did it to like a real live audience, which was super cool. So I guess that's a fun fact about me. I'll give one other one though, is that a long time ago, I backpacked Australia for about 5 months, and I went on my own, and I met people while I was there. And back.
Oh, nice. I did that in Mexico. Actually, oh my God, it's been so long now, like 8 years ago. Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy. And same kind of thing, met people. I went by myself, and then I met some travel buddies, and we would wander around, and yeah, that's
cool.
Awesome.
I love it.
Travel, man. It's a special thing.
It is.
So tell us about you on the work side of things. What do you do, and how do you provide support for entrepreneurs and business owners?
Yeah. So like you so beautifully introed me, I'm the founder and leader of the Non-9-to-5. And what I do is provide coaching, teaching, guidance, and support for women and some men, but we mostly work with women who know that they're not meant for a 9-to-5 job, and know that they are meant to be successfully self-employed. So essentially, I get to teach people how to quit their job, how to, as I like to call it, stand on their own 2 feet and find/pursue their non-9-to-5 purpose. And I do this. So the way that I do this is I teach a 6-step process. It's called the Non-9-to-5 Steps to Success. And these 6 steps have come from my experience, all of my personal experience of going from the 9-to-5 to the non-9-to-5. I've been self-employed now almost 11 years, and I've been doing the work at the Non-9-to-5, or I founded the Non-9-to-5 a little bit over 8 years ago. So I've taken everything that I've learned and I've created these 6 steps. And then when I work with women or men, we get to do private work, and we have a really beautiful, safe and sacred community of women where they get to ask questions. I'm there to support everyone. We do community-wide calls. We meet on Zoom. So it's really like this super safe, sacred, and tight container of support. So you can, again, go from the 9 to 5 to the non 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. I like the community aspect of it for sure. I think that helps. I don't know. It helps in any aspect, but particularly this one, it helps people feel like they're not alone. Because I think a lot of times entrepreneurs are just like, man, this is crazy. Like, and you have to do it all on your own, and you really don't. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
And I'd add to that too. So as I've been doing this work, I predominantly was only doing one-on-one work. And like I said, I do one-on-one work with every client I work with. But over the past 2 years, maybe it's even been a little bit less, I realized the need for community, that it was so important for these women to come together with other women who are on the same journey, and they can ask each other questions and support each other and realize that the things that they are experiencing, they're not alone with at all.
Mm-hmm. No, it's great. I like that. I'm about to start doing something kind of similar as far as like running programs, kind of like more boot camp type programs, that kind of thing, where it's a little bit more group focused too. So that's cool. I'm excited for that. What's your background? How did you end up doing the non 9 to 5?
Yeah, so I think the best place to start is actually 2010, which is quite some time ago. But in 2010, I was working for a high performing charter school in the South Bronx of New York City. I'm from New York City originally. And I really found myself at a time in my life where I was depressed. I was ridden with anxiety. I had really low self-esteem. I told myself I was a loser. I didn't feel good enough. And I was also waking up around 5:30 in the morning to get ready to go to the school. I'd leave my house in the morning. It was dark outside. I'd get back home. It was dark outside. It was like I never saw sunlight. My health was pretty shot. Mentally, emotionally, I was shot. And it was sort of a combination of that going on, plus part of me going, I enjoy teaching. I enjoy being with my students, but I don't actually agree with everything that I'm being told to do and how to do it and when to do it and where to do it, and taking meetings that, it was pretty obvious. Like if in the meetings we were actually honest, which felt like never happened, the meetings were pointless. We'd be wasting time in meetings, and people were just the yes man, like yes manning each other about everything. And all of that was just like so intense for me that by the end of that year, in December of 2010, I walked in on a Monday morning. I gave 2 weeks notice and I left. No job to go to, no nothing. Didn't know I was going to really start a business, even though I thought about like, how could I teach on my own? And then what that did was leaving that job and wondering how can I teach on my own was the catalyst for me then becoming an independent contractor with teaching. Then I started my first business called Teacher on the Go, and I did one-on-one academic and behavioral support with students. And I was decently successful with that. And probably about a year or two into that, I had a sort of epiphany moment, or a intuitive light bulb went off, where I got this gut message saying, well, it's been about 2 years now since I left my job, and I've been standing on my own 2 feet without an employer. I've been able to create something that I never would have thought in a million years I could do. I know that there are other people just like me out there that don't know how to do it, don't know if they can do it. And I want to be someone to hold my hand out and say, okay, come with me. I'm going to show you how to make this happen. And then the 9 to 5 officially launched in 2013.
Very cool. Yeah, I like the I don't know, I think that's half the fun of the entrepreneur journey is the little squiggly lines that we took to get to where we are and how much more squiggly it's going to get after this point too, it's like, it's not a straight line.
It's always squiggly.
Yeah. Yeah. Keeps things interesting. So tell us a little bit more about the non-9 to 5 life. Like, what are some of your favorite client success stories or testimonials, that kind of thing?
Sure. So one that I love sharing about is a past client of mine. She worked with me for 4 years. We worked together for 4 years. She's local where I am. I do work with people all over, even outside of the country. She's local to Austin, Texas. When we started our work together, she had some ideas for a business, knew that she wasn't meant to stay in a 9 to 5 full-time job, but wasn't sure what all of that was going to look like or what it could look like. And she's someone who's really great when it comes to food and cooking and even decorating. She has all these really great skills there. What we ended up creating, and it has become really successful, is she's the owner of a business where she bakes these like really gigantic chocolate chip cookies, and they are fantastic because I've had them before. And so in a span of 4 years, she went from being in a job that she was not happy at to starting a business to being at 2 farmers markets with her cookies every weekend, to doing large corporate orders, to even during COVID, she pivoted and she was able to sell her cookies. I think, if I'm not mistaken, was like in little neighborhoods and apartment complexes. And she was doing some sort of like COVID friendly kind of pickup or delivery. I don't remember exactly. And now she has product in a major grocery chain throughout Texas. And she's really created a really big name for herself, all with, going through the steps that I teach. And I'm very big on baby steps, going one foot in front of the other. And here she is, a really great success story.
That's awesome. Yeah. I like it really does take time. And one of the things I also help people with too is that like, you got to like take the steps. You can't just like try and do all the things all at once because it just doesn't work and you're not going to make the same kind of progress. But if you're steady about it and strategic and just keep moving forward, then you'll get where you want to go. So that's super cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Congratulations to you and her.
Yeah.
That's always the scary thing for me sometimes is when people are like, yeah, I trust you to help me grow my business. And I'm like, oh God. Oh no. Okay. All right. It's like serious, but yeah, imposter syndrome was a good time. But so what are some of the most common mistakes? I mean, learning from mistakes is a big thing, right? But what are some of the most common mistakes you see people make when they're trying to transition from being an employee to being their own boss?
I'm going to say the number one thing, because I learned this for myself, and it's probably not going to be what you think. But the number one thing when you're trying to make that transition and you're trying to start a business is that you don't have support in place. And when I say support, it's great if you have family members that support you and they cheerlead you, or great if you have friends. But investing in support, I think, well, for myself, I know is the best thing, hands down, I could have ever done. And I didn't invest in my business mentor / coach until 2013 when I officially started this business. But if you recall what I shared earlier, I left my teaching job at the end of 2010. So it was like, from when I started with her, 2.5 years of me not having any support and spinning my wheels and kind of going gas brake and not being sure what to do or how to do it. And the minute that I was able to see how important it is to invest in myself, to invest in growth, in my growth, to invest in someone teaching me, what the steps are, everything changed for me. And so that's something I think is vital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It took me a while too to invest in a coach. I mean, I've had a couple different people help me along the way as far as like VAs, and I've had some other consultants that I've hired, but for myself, yeah, hiring the coach. And even just like last week, I was talking to her and I was like, man, I freaking hate writing proposals. Like it's one of my least favorite things. It takes like 7 minutes and I hate it so much. And I put it off so long. I was like, is this like self-sabotage? Is this imposter syndrome? She's like, no, I just think you need a better system. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, she's like, what if you just made a template and you don't have to do it every time? And I was like, I mean, okay, I see you. All right. Cause I kind of have one, but she's like, no, just make it the same. Anyway, so it was like this whole, I was like, oh, it's just so nice to have somebody that's like, cause they can see, like you can't see in most cases. Like that's one of our biggest flaws, I guess, or challenges as humans is that we can't be objective about ourselves and we're like living in our own head all the time and can't come out of it. So having someone that can go, yeah, well, I mean, like, here's where the pieces are, and like, what if we just do this? And then you're like, oh my God, yes, thank God.
Well,
someone else to be in charge of me. It's amazing.
it's a really, really important and valid point to make that we can't necessarily see our own stuff.
Yeah.
And my business mentor, and she has coaches that work with her. So I have like my own coach and she's my mentor. They're constantly pointing out things. I came to them with a question and my coach came back to me and said, I'm not going to give you the answer, but I'm going to give you this action to take. And I want you to come back to me and tell me what you see. And I was like, wow. And I was so appreciative of it because I knew she obviously did it on purpose. There was a reason why she wants me to figure it out on my own so I could see what I needed to see. And so now I'm in process of taking these actions. And when someone can see what we don't see or what we need, that is, I think it's beautiful. I mean, that really puts us on the path of growth. I mean, if you're interested in growth, not everyone is. Other people are more interested in staying where they are or doing the same thing that they have been for years. And that's okay. It's just a choice point. I know I'm not interested in that. And the women that I work with are not interested in that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. So how do aspiring entrepreneurs find and pursue their purpose and passion? I know that's kind of one of the things you help people with. So what are some things that people can do?
Yeah. So let me just take a sip of water and I'm going to give you my answer.
Yeah.
If we talk about finding what I call your non 9 to 5 purpose, right? So that could seem kind of like ambiguous or like really big. Like, I don't know, like, how do I find this non 9 to 5 purpose? How do I find the business that I meant to start? How do I find this self-employment, thing that I'm supposed to do? And there are a couple of like concrete steps. So one thing I like to share, and these are just simple baby steps because I'm all about making it as simple as possible, especially when you're just starting off. I'm really big in that. I'm also really big in writing things down. I'm constantly writing things down. I think I've actually turned into my mother because I notice I have notes written down all over the place because I'll get ideas for things. And I even like to handwrite my grocery list. Like I will put it in my phone, but I also like to write it. So what you first want to do is really acknowledge the things that you are passionate about. So just write them all down. It doesn't matter what they are. If you're passionate about animals, write it down. If you're passionate about food, write it down. If you're passionate about cooking food, write it down. If you're passionate about reading, write it down. So you just make a list. And when you make the list, you don't censor yourself. You don't judge yourself. You don't go, well, that would never work. I don't know how I'd turn that into business. You just write it down. And then from there, you've got to sort of really honor yourself and celebrate yourself. And what I mean by that is to write down the things, things isn't the right word, to write down the areas of expertise that you have. So for myself, I have expertise in teaching. I have expertise in public speaking. These are areas that I can own and say, yeah, these are areas that I'm strong at. Everyone has these. You've got to be willing to own them and put them down on paper. And then you can look at these 2 lists and just kind of see like what ideas come to your mind, what little sparks are happening. And if something sparks, you can start doing some research. Google can be your friend for something like this. Another step, so whether you don't have a business at all, or you've sort of started, or you want to start, is go to a business networking event. Go to an actual structured, real business networking event. I don't advise to go to one of those like business networking events that's at a bar, that's kind of loosey-goosey. You go to a structured business networking event, like a BNI, a Business Networking International, because those are super structured. Go there and just attend the meeting and see how it goes. And you let the people know, hey, I don't have a business. I'm thinking of starting a business, but I wanted to, mix and mingle with other business owners and just see how it feels. See, you can ask people questions. How did you get started? How do you like running your own business? What do you love about it? What do you not love about it? It's so important that we take actions, because the only way to get clear is to actually be in action. We can't think. That'll never do anything. So those would be the first couple of steps I'd share.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I'm a huge writing things down person also. I've always been that way. I've had to adjust to like a digital calendar, which is not the same, but it's fine. But yeah, I do that a lot in brainstorming and stuff, or if I'm feeling stuck on something, I'll just kind of like brain dump all the things out of my head. And then it helps me kind of make sense of it too, for whatever reason. So, I like that. Yeah, because it's really just kind of finding those things that like a lot of people don't really think about sometimes when they're just working in a job, is the like, what am I really good at? What am I passionate about? What do I not want to do? Like, because there's things about every job that are kind of like, man, I'd be fine if I never had to do that again. But yeah, just really digging in. So I like those kinds of brainstorming activities and whatnot. The like write stuff down and look at it in front of you, like you said, own it. Very cool. So when people get going, I know this happens a lot too. I have a lot of clients that are like, oh, how do I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So how can what are some things entrepreneurs can do to make sure they're staying on track, like once they actually get going?
Well, I'll tell you what comes to my mind when, like, as you're asking me that question. One really important key component, it's like a key success ingredient, if you will, to successful self-employment, entrepreneurship, business ownership, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's all the same thing, is being consistent and staying committed. So consistency tends to be something that is really, really, really hard for us human beings. I used to be the least consistent person, and all of that had to change, and I had to learn that. It took me several years of starting this business to really get consistent. So if you're taking an action, you don't just take it once and never take it again. You have to do it consistently. So let me make up an example. Let's say you've started a business, and well, actually, let's go back to the example I gave with networking, because I'm really big on creating relationships with people, and I found networking to be like such a great avenue to do that. And let's say you go to a networking event and it's really great, or maybe it's not even so great. So you go, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to do that again. Well, you've lost the possibility of being consistent to see who else is out there, to see what else is out there. Or if we say like the networking event was great and you make some great contacts and maybe potential referral partners, etc., but you never plug in another networking event again. Or maybe you go to a second one, but you don't do it consistently. So in all the networking that I've ever done, I've gone through really long stretches of time where I would consistently network. So when I belonged to that organization I mentioned before, BNI, I was one of their members. I did it for like 3.5 or 4, actually maybe 4 or 4.5 years. I went to the meeting every single week. And actually the meetings that I attended were early breakfast meetings, which is not really my favorite because I prefer to have a longer morning before I really dig into my day, but I was committed, and I was committed to showing up consistently. So consistency has to be part of all the actions you're taking, and the commitment has to be there. And if you fall off, if you forget, if you lose track, instead of beating yourself up or telling yourself it's never going to happen or you suck at this, you just get back up again and you recommit. So I would say those two things are super, super important. But I think, did you ask me 2 or 3, or did you just ask me what?
No, I just asked you what are some things entrepreneurs can do to make sure they're staying on track? Yeah.
Okay. Those are my 2. Yep.
Yeah. I totally agree with the networking stuff. Like I can't even describe, especially if your business is remotely business to business. Like you and I are basically those are our ideal clients and like in any kind of business networking thing. But it's so huge. Like just even having like the sphere of people that are all kind of in the same boat and are supportive and encouraging, particularly a lot of the women's networking groups that I'm in. It's just like, hell yeah, I get it, girl. Like there's no one doubts you or questions you or is like, are you sure you're qualified to do that? You know, like that kind of thing, or that seems like a really big dream. Maybe you shouldn't do that. It's not the place for that. So just having that kind of support and encouragement, I think is also great. But like you said, I'm kind of the same way as far as especially if it's a paid membership, then I have to commit to myself that, okay, like I'm going to go to the stuff, but it's not just about the stuff. Like you were saying, like you find a few people from each meeting that you go to connect with one-on-one and start building those relationships with. And I feel like I get something from every single connection. Sometimes it's just like, oh, you should meet my friend that does this thing. And then I kind of find another person. Like, it's crazy the power behind showing up for like networking stuff for sure. So that's huge. I grew my business during a pandemic just by networking, even though it was virtual. So it's huge.
Yeah.
I think my next question was going to be, what are the top 3 things you want people to take away from this episode? If you can think of 3 specifics.
Well, let's see. Number 1, I'd like listeners to take away the power of consistency. Number 2 is the power of commitment. And number 3 is that is totally possible. So if you haven't started a business yet, if you've just started a business, if you're feeling stuck in a 9-to-5 job, it is completely possible. I kind of feel like I'm a poster child for it, because if you knew me before this journey, I was such a different person.
Mm-hmm. There's really nothing quite like the journey of entrepreneurship to grow as a human being. Like it's impossible to not do both, because you just start to learn things and you're like, oh my God, okay, all right. Yeah. Like you were saying, with some of the consistency and just things you had to be like, all right, I have to show up for myself in this way. Otherwise I'm not going to get where I want to go. So
right.
I'm going to do the hard thing, which is, it's hard, but my God, it's worth. I would never go back. There's no way. Like I would be such a nightmare employee at this point. Like I was already kind of difficult sometimes because I see problems and I want to fix them, and that's not always encouraged in a corporate environment, Or sometimes it's just like, Kristen, you don't have to fix everything. Like, shut up, it's fine. But yeah, I'd never go back. Anyway, so as an entrepreneur and a business owner yourself, what advice would you give to fellow business owners when it comes to running their businesses?
This might be controversial, but social media is not the end all be all.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
I think there's such an obsession with social media that you've got to be on social media. Like even like when that whole Clubhouse thing started, And what I noticed was when that started was it earlier this year? Actually, it was this year. It was earlier this year.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was earlier this year. You'd see all over Facebook, oh, I have a link. You got to get on this. You got to get on this. You got to get on this. And I was like, no, I don't need that. And I did eventually join and I never used it. So that's why I say it's controversial, because there are other people who have probably built their businesses off of that platform.
Yeah.
And obviously there are successful businesses that have built themselves off of social media. But the thing that just really kind of like, honestly, it hurts my heart when I have clients being like, I have to get more followers on Instagram. I have to build this because, that's what you need. Like, that's what I need. Like, that's what I need to do. And I'm like, who's telling you this? Because I've built a business pretty much virtually off of social media. And I did it that way because I realized early on, I'm not that big on it personally. So I could either honor myself and what feels true and right for me, or I could go completely against that and force myself to do something that I don't even think is really fun. It's different. The other thing too that's different though is that if you have a business where you also have a team of people and you have a team or a person who is the social media guru, that's their role. And you're at a place in your business journey where you can make that investment. And it makes sense for you to do that. Like, I think that's another story. But when I see people starting off in a newish in business being so obsessed with social media, I'm still like, go and talk to people in person, if you can, with the global pandemic, or go to an online networking event. Like, that's how you create connection with people, not like tapping on the screen. And we all have some form of social media because it is these days part of businesses, but it doesn't need to be the end all be all.
Yeah. And I think to your point too, like it is damn near impossible to just grow a following by just being on social media. Like, you have to do the other stuff. You have to go out, you have to make connections, you have to network with people. Some of that you can do online. Like, if you're the type of person who's good at the consistency and commitment of actually going on and doing something, because it doesn't matter what it is. Like, if you really want to go, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to kill Clubhouse. Like, I have a podcast. That's a great platform for me. Like, I'm going to go in there and make connections. And if you spend the time and effort and energy and commit and show up, then you'll kill it on Clubhouse, just like you could kill it on TikTok or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, like any of the things are. But if you're looking at that as like some sort of like magical, like you're going to get 10,000 followers in a month and they're all going to want to buy from you. Like, I've been in business for like 2.5 years and I teach people how to use social media regularly. And I think I have like 380 followers on my Facebook and Instagram. Like, it's fine. It's there. The people that are interested comment, and then it's more of like, if you want to check me out, here's a way to check me out. But I'm the same way. I don't love it. It's not my favorite thing. I struggle to do it consistently, but it's fine. Like you said, I still managed to grow my business just by doing networking. So, but yeah, that's a good one. For people, because I do think that they get super stressed about it, because like I said, I do help a lot of people with it and they're just like, I don't know how it works and I don't know how to set stuff up. And I'm like, people care about you as a person. So if you're sharing about your journey and your story and being authentic, then they're going to connect with you. If you're just sharing a bunch of generic facts and trying to sell stuff on your page, then you're not going to get the same kind of interaction and engagement. So what do you want, and it all takes time. I'd rather talk to people personally too. So what resources do you wish you had known about or taken advantage of at the beginning of your journey as an entrepreneur?
I think it's what I said before. I wish I had a business coach right at the beginning, because I didn't know what I was doing. It's like that saying, throwing wet spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks.
Yeah.
That's what I did for quite some time. So if I had had that in place earlier, which is why I encourage everyone to get support right from the get-go, those first couple of years would have looked much different.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common. That's a pretty common piece of advice that people give in that little spot, is get a coach, get a mentor, find somebody to help you. Quit trying to just figure it out. It's okay. There's other people. So So tell us how we can best support you. What are you working on? Can we help spread the word for you about anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think this question would probably go into like, like getting in touch with me and all of that as well. So, spreading the word, you can go to my website. It's the non9to5.com, and spread the word to yourself and to others by you can put your first name, and there's a box on the homepage. Put your first name and your best email address, and you'll receive in your inbox a very mini PDF ebook I've written called The Number One Step to Staying with Your Business Mission. And then you'll also receive weekly supportive emails from me. And then I'm also on Instagram, the non9to5, and I'm on Facebook, the non9to5, even though I just totally was like, no social media. But I am in those places. You'll actually see you can see what I do there, and you'll probably get a sense of why, you'll get a sense of, I think, if you go to like my Instagram page and all that, how that connects to what I shared a minute ago about the non9to5. And then also, if you've listened to what I've shared and it's sparking something for you, it's striking a chord, I really invite you to take an even accelerated step and apply for a clarity call with me. So you can do that by clicking on the link in my Instagram bio, or is it profile? It's bio, I think. I don't know what it's called.
It's bio, yeah.
You can click on the link in my Instagram bio, or on my website, the non9to5.com. You can click on apply, and you'll fill out an application that comes personally to me. I read through it, and then we can set up a time to talk to see what's going on for you, what's not working so well. We'll lay down some potential next best steps, and then we can see if the work I do is a fit for you.
Okay. That's great. I just followed you. But see, you're the same. You've got a few hundred followers on each. It's like there's stuff on there so people can see what you do, but it's not your like main focus for connections. So it's there. Cool. Yeah, no, thanks for stopping by. I always appreciate the time. I always like these. I feel like I'm cheating the system sometimes because I always learn something from every podcast interview I do. I'm like, is this fair? But it's great. It's one of the best things about it, I think. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me.
Thanks for having me.